Yeah, we're back on. Okay. Good morning, guys. Good morning to everyone joining us from wherever they are. We are trading the London session this morning, or we are looking at the London session this morning. So yeah, looking for the best that we could do tonight, or this morning. I even say tonight. It's a beautiful morning in Johannesburg, very sunny, looking good. The weather is pretty good, so we're good with that. Joining us from any of our platforms, we welcome you. If you're joining from YouTube, welcome. Please share the link. We just are left with about 10 minutes to the open of the London session. So yeah, that's a good one. Looking to see some opportunity there. And then just share. You can share the streaming link with any of the traders that you know. Perhaps they're not at work, they're looking at the markets. We can do it together, there's no problem. So let's share. We can share the screen, or you can share the stream, let me say so. So yeah, that is. So the Tokyo session is pretty much coming to an end now, I think. We just expecting the New York to start to begin to take over now in about 10 minutes. So let's check how I'll be having some visitors, I think some guests. Someone could be joining me on the session today. If you have got any questions, please feel free to drop your question. Let's look at it together. So don't be afraid, just drop that and we can look at it. Let me just check how many. I think we've got some guys on YouTube already. Right. Right, that's fine. Right, in this case, we are going to be crunching the charts, guys, don't worry. So send your questions and anything that you want us to consider, we'll look at that. Just want to open my calendar and then take it from there. Just to look at how the economic calendar looks like. For today, perhaps some news for the pound today. We'll see. Right. Some news for the pound today. We'll be looking at that. If there's going to be any news for the pound, looking at the economic calendar. Right, I'm using London will be opening in about 6 minutes. We're using those, and then we have got pound news. The Bank of England, Cunliffe will be making a speech just about 11 o'clock. The ECB President Lagarde will also be making a speech at 2 o'clock. That's going to be during our London session. That's going to be a high impact. So we're looking at that. And today we are going to also, that's going to be an awesome, we're going to be expecting an awesome. Let me just share with you the calendar, then you can see what's up here. Okay. Let me share with you the calendar that I'm watching, the calendar that I'm looking at. Right. Let me just stop this one. So yeah, drop your question. Anything that you want us to look at, we definitely would be interested in looking at that. Right, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the news for today. Today, the calendar does look like there's going to be high impact news later today at 2 o'clock by President Lagarde, the ECB president. So that's going to be very interesting for the euro there. Get ready for that. And also expecting some data from the US, the jobless claims, the 4-week average, around. So New York session is going to be lit, eh? Jobless claims are coming through at 2:30 today. So wow, that's going to be a very interesting. That's going to be a very interesting one day. So yeah, that's what we do. I look at the economic calendar. We're opening the session in 4 minutes. So that's why I wanted to just start by checking if there's going to be any high impact news during the London session. The only one that we are expecting to get will be the speech from the ECB president, the lady herself, President Lagarde. You know her, I hope. So yeah, that's what it is. So let me just go back to the charts and let me get ready. And let me get ready to share the charts. Back to the charts again, and let's crunch them. Invite your friends, as we said. It's more, you're more than welcome. Just if you know of any trader who is there and who would be wanting to see what you are seeing right now, that would be good. We can share. We live to share. Before the London Open is about 4 minutes. Let me just share with you that this is what we do when we watch for London session. I usually like to be looking at the pound yen first. So you can see that the pound yen is there. This is the pound yen on any time frame. But what is interesting is that that it's broken. So what am I saying? During the Tokyo session, there was the session is still ongoing, but you can see that the Tokyo session this time succeeded to break the support. Apologies. To break the support, the support of the sessions that have been going on. I mean, we've been monitoring these sessions since today, it's Thursday, since Tuesday. So all of the sessions, London and Tokyo, have managed to keep this, the price ranging in that rising wedge. And the Tokyo, there was a lot of selling of the pound for the yen during the Tokyo session. And now the Tokyo session, we can see that now there's a bit of exhaustion. They are consolidating somewhere there. But now they are consolidating, or they are cooling off just outside this level, right? Which level is now just below there? The level is way below I'm just analyzing the sessions between the two. 1, 2, 3, I think it's coming for a 4, right? So in this case, you can see that now Tokyo is consolidating safely below that broken support. So meaning that it's kind of making it a resistance now. So London is going to be opening when the pound is weak against the yen, the previous, which is pretty much, I'm talking about the Tokyo because the Japanese yen, it's pretty much the one that I look for as a representative, of the Tokyo session. So in this case, the yen gotten stronger during its session and is leaving the pound weak just shortly before the pound, or rather the London session starts. That's number 1. Number 2 is that I also look at the big pair, the most popular pair. I've been monitoring this pair and I still do monitor it. In fact, I'm already short from the top there, don't worry. Then there it is, right from the top. So you can see that this one, there's been weakness that started yesterday during the London session. Again, rather during the New York session. So according to me, the pound has gotten a beating because it did not get too much buying during their own session yesterday. During the New York session, it was just yesterday around this time, the pound got the beating, from the dollar. Yesterday during the New York session. There it is. During this session, now you can see that they're consolidating. It even got sold during the Tokyo session. So it continued to be weak, and there is consolidating there. I'm expecting further weakness. So I'm expecting the weakness of the pound when I look at the pound yen, the pound dollar. And let's look at this one. The euro has definitely been beating there it is. The euro has always been positive, as we said. The euro is also pretty much positive against the yen. So that's exactly what we're looking at. That's the 30 minutes. The session is just open right now. But as I said, I'm expecting the weak pound. Why? Because the pound looks weak, right? Can it be weak against the Swiss franc? One of the big currency pairs around the euro. around the euro area. I look at the euro and I look at the Swiss franc. There is, I would be watching this. I think this is weakness. Now, the pound is there at the resistance. When I look at the H4, I could want just to keep it closer, but basically it's playing around the H4 during all these sessions. And the pound is at the resistance. It started being weak. You can see the weakness against there. You can see the weakness against the Swiss franc. So yes, the pound does still look weak, frail, and whether it's going to bounce now, I don't see at the moment charts that suggest that the pound could strengthen any further, even during this session. So that's where we start from. Session is open. And the disappointing thing about the London session is that it has also been kind of, it has also been kind of, let me go to M15, just monitor that. It has always, again, not been showing too much liquidity. I mean, the markets were pretty flat yesterday. That's something, the markets were not looking very nice yesterday during the London session. And that's my worry that it's like, what's the point? Why are we trading the London session? Because we don't see that volatility. Instead, right now, you might have seen that the Tokyo has even shown some form of, the Tokyo has shown some form of volumes. They've pumped some volumes, but these guys have honestly not been pumping volumes. So the question becomes, traders, why do you trade? Let's not just trade because it's a tradition, honestly. This one is just analysis. I wouldn't trade it just because it's tradition. So that's where it is. So there it is. Okay. So in this case, this is on a closer range. That's what we're looking at. On the pound Swiss franc, that's what we're watching. And then on that's still weakness for me. Perhaps you can give it some bit of a credit there that they could just want to bounce to the upside. That's a contracting triangle right there, okay? But still on the M30 looks bullish, but remember the resistance that is there. So even if it can push to the upside, this resistance could still hold. So against the franc, we're looking, but like I said, I'm really worried that there are no volumes here. Could it go to the downside? Likely, right? And we're taking the bias now. So the bias is that the bias, not bias as in long traders there. There it is. So if it breaks to the upside, likelihood to be finding this resistance is still there. Can it break it? I don't think so. I don't know. M30 of the session is open, by the way. Right. So the M30s of the GBP pound does look like that. So I'm going to be looking to see what we can do there. And then when I have a closer look on the shorter time frame, I know you guys will be wanting to see the inverse head and shoulder pattern, as I said yesterday. Could be, it may not be. I don't like not a pure one. So there it is. That's the euro. Oh yeah, we did the euro GBP yesterday, right? Why it's not reflecting there? I don't know. That's what we're looking for. The resistance, we were looking for this point as they hasn't really done much there. It's pretty flat. Right. It's pretty flat. Same picture that we saw yesterday, honestly. So let's zoom in on the M15s and just delete all these. It will not help us a lot. Is there anything significant there? There could be. This resistance is still holding. Right. Only if it can break above that resistance would we talk something. So I think some people could be having this on and looking at the euro might weaken against this one. So, but we're looking at, yeah, I think that's for me looks somewhat better, right? I think we could be seeing bit of a decline first on the euro side before we can see an up. As we said, perhaps up to there, then we can go. So just a bit of a weakness there if the price validates this pattern. Right, let's go check there. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. It's now been 5 minutes after the session has opened. Absolutely no volumes, flat. Just no money coming in. Why London session? Why London session? Okay, you see, sometimes that's what we do, traders. Not a problem at all. Spend all the time preparing, hoping that these session trading will give something. Absolutely nothing. So there's honestly nothing that I'm seeing that the London session has done spectacular. There is a bit of buying on the dollar. We can see the candle that is just forming from the 9 o'clock. It has been 5 minutes, and they already have gotten a very nice, or something that looks like a buy there. Okay, that's what we look for. There's a bit of buying there. The volumes are just not so good. For me, I don't like this. That's not very good for volumes there. I don't see anything. I mean, look at this. I mean, look at the selling during that time, yesterday, during the New York session. I mean, beautiful. Or was this? No, this could even be the 19th during the Tokyo session, perhaps. Yeah, that was the Tokyo session. Yeah, that was the Tokyo session, Sydney session. No, 21 hours our time should have been the New York session. But that was a nice selling. The volumes were up there. Volumes are completely down at the moment. So with the volumes so down, you really are hoping that this market could be right. So that's what we hoping to get there. GU wanting to pull back, the pound looking to pull back from that to 161.82, or the 200 expansions on the GU. Right, and then on the GJ, there is a bit of selling that we see on M15. It's still so small for me to make it really significant. I think for me, the significant point about GJ is that besides being a session trader, I would just consider the GJ as a negative trend right now. So it's a downtrend. I think I'll just keep it like that. Better signal or a better view would be this one. Selling from this level, going straight up to back to this point where the price was coming from. I think for the session that is going to be coming, or perhaps the momentum can come during the session. So I would trade it looking like this. I would just be short. I would prefer the short on the GJ rather. Then from there, let me just put this first as our stop loss. Be somewhere right there, just above this point, as I taught yesterday. Then, I mean, that's where the opportunities could be, you know. And I don't call this a session opportunity, like I said. Even if it was not a pound or a London session, I would still recommend, or the technical analysis still suggests that there should be some potential shorting there. Right, and then our target going there, that could be something like from there. It's a 80 pips stop loss for 210, 200, just over 1:2. It's a better way of trading. That's what I'm looking at. Otherwise, Again, like I said, whether it is done during the session or not, that for me, that's besides the point. The point is there you go. Perfect. Right. The point here is that even if it can go slightly higher, they sell some more. It's just on the negative side. The rising wedge in an uptrend broke the support, the trading support as resistance right now. The test every time the price tests that, that's a very good, that would be a better opportunity than having to wait for news. You know, if the news don't come, the price still moves. And then the news can explain why the price moved. Right, perhaps the volumes could come. Right, there we go. Waiting for the wind to blow, not a problem. Right, so as we said that I would just use all the instruments to make sure, to check if this is a complete confluence. I take my fibs as always, just check on the expansion side. What's gonna happen there? And voila, that's our target. That's our target 2, right? Our target 3 right there. So if you use that, the target 3, that's a target 3. Your target 3 is just right there. So perhaps one can go on a perfect, close to pretty perfect there, just to reduce the risk. There I would be having some form of like a sell limit at the fib zone there, because this fib zone is exactly at the support of the pivot inside the channel, somewhere there. If you make it, let me not use this one. Right. So the pound, even if it can try to move to the upside, I think it could be finding that fib zone at 23.6 or 76.4, whichever direction you're going to be using the fib zone on. Let me just show those who don't know how the Fibonacci work. My fib zone 2 is the 23.6. I can add my fib zone 1. My fib zone 1 would be the 38.2. 38.2 could be my fib zone 1. So first the golden fib zone. Just if it goes into the deep retracement, then could find that. So that's the area for me that I would be interested to sell in. You can see that the area itself, the area itself, so once I do this now, I'm expanding the reward. You can see that the area itself there has got very nice selling there. There is a support inside the channel. They were hoping that this support could push the price upward, but it didn't succeed. There is the support. Oh, apologies for that. There is the support. This support was supposed to be pushing the price to the upside, but doesn't look like it will. Instead, it could become a buy. Just for it. Watch this. Watch this point. Right. Something like this. Looks like most of you can see now. That could be a very, very, very good sell point there. Stop loss just above your A wave, because we're going to do some A, B, C, D, E here. A, B, C, D, E, F. So I think it's going to be a nice impulse waves to the target number 3. So stop loss just above 154.86. I could say then 0.87. And then the take profit, I like the 152.305. Remember the values are already there. 152.305 or 0.3. Right. That could be something like this. There you go. So in this case, we're just looking about, let me just confirm those pips. We're just looking at about, right, just about 36 pips. There it is. It's very small pips if you are going to be selling what I'm saying in the fib zone 2. And there's another entry again at the fib zone 3, at the first fib zone, just here exactly. We're trading at this point. Then in this instance, then your stop loss just above that point. The stop loss becomes just about 60 pips, 57 pips. Let's make it exactly 60 there. 60, can it be 60? Just about 60 pips. It's a stop loss for selling at fib zone 1. Yeah, about 60 pips. Then your take profit adjusted to target. Just target. I always like putting the take profit sharply shy of the target area. I don't like the target 2 nor target 1. I think that it could come straight. Does this not remind you of Bitcoin? Does this not remind you of Bitcoin? I mean, this is the setup that you've given on Bitcoin. Yesterday when you're breaking this down, where's Bitcoin? So that's one of the things that I'm saying, that this could be reminding us of Bitcoin. So does it not? From where you are you not reminded of that setup of Bitcoin? When you look at this setup, does it not remind you of that Bitcoin setup? I can show it to you. You know, the Bitcoin setup looked pretty much something like that. So let me see if I can get that Bitcoin setup. Don't trade Bitcoin, but this, when I look at this GJ on this H1, this hourly time frame, now I'm reminded of how the Bitcoin looked like, you know, because we do trade. I'm not suggesting that there's a correlation, you know. There is, you know, I'm taking profit. So basically, pretty much the GJ is somewhere here. Could be looking for this level that I call the $60,000 level for the Bitcoin sell watch. So if technical analysis is really believable, which I think it should be believable, if this price could plummet if it can just receive such kind of negative sentiment like what the Bitcoin received. So yes, it is. So I'm looking at a similar thing. These things print in my mind. They do print in my mind. So that's where we are. There we go. So that's the London breakout session. So in this case, the Tokyo broke out because we're trading breakout, you know. The wise way of trading breakouts would be to trade the retest. So for me, the beautiful opportunity will be on GJ. I hope it moves to the downside before the London session, but this could be a session. I'm on H1. It could take 2 sessions, by the way. So when I say 2 sessions, it could take London session. Perhaps the New York session can push the pound further to the downside. But when you trade H1, this could be a 1 day or 2 days trade. You know, the one I'm just showing right now. You know, the take profit is at about 190 pips. So for risking 60 pips and making 190, that's a 1:3. You know, the RR is 1:3. And if you ask me, coach, this is the kind of my risk to reward. Yesterday I was speaking about that. I mean, for me, this is the kind of my risk to reward. You know, I prefer risk to reward that it's worth my while. You know, I am definitely gonna leave it there and then trail or maybe partial profit taking. So, but there it is. The risk to reward is a 1:3 one, you know. I don't know. Maybe some of the guys might have posted it. I think I would post it as something to look for. Like I said, sometimes we may think that you're coming to trade a session because the people who trade, us who trade sessions, we believe that perhaps in a session we can have an entry. I don't believe that. I always tell my traders, I don't trade at the barrel of a gun. The market does not put a gun on my head and say, listen, it's a London session. Before this session finishes, you must have traded. If you don't trade, you don't know how London session works. There's no volumes. So we trade prices. We don't trade. I always tell guys, I trade a price. I don't trade a session. So I trade a price in a session. I trade a good price. But the good price, if a session does not give me a good price, sorry, bro, I'm not gonna trade that session because I'm a price action trader. I must see price action. That is why it's possible that we can sleep. I can sleep. I don't have to be waiting for the market. The market can keep on grinding while I'm sleeping, or I can have meetings. I can go away and take it from that point. We've got some questions, guys. That's exactly now. It has been 20 minutes into the London session. No movement whatsoever. I don't call those movements. Those movements are the same as the movements of the closing or of the winding out of the Tokyo session. Perhaps they are waiting for the Tokyo to close. Then we could see some volumes. We don't know, because we are now in the 2 hours that the London is sharing together with the Tokyo. Tokyo is going to be closing. Tokyo closes in 1 hour 38 minutes. So it's going to be closing at 11 o'clock our time. So the next 1.5 hours, could there be changes? Perhaps there could be. We are going to be here until 12:30. If you don't have any questions, I don't want to be staying on a BAP market like this one. This market is boring, and I would not want to stay longer on it. Our admin, are you there? If there are any questions I don't see from my side, let me check if you can have any questions there. Let me look if you've got any questions. Let's look if there are any questions on the Opulence FX YouTube page. Right, Opulence FX YouTube page. We don't have sessions. We don't have any questions. You guys have got questions there. I can see you. I can see you all. Opulence FX YouTube page. We don't have sessions. We don't have any questions. You guys have got questions there. I can see you. Right. You have questions? I'll be taking questions from now. If there are any questions, we can take them. Right. That's what it is. So remember, that's where we are on the GJ side. And then that is also where we are on the GU side. As I said, the GU is negative, right? This is negative. Already the GU has come from that top which the GJ is trying to come from. There's a bit of weakness. There could be some form of final weakness against the Swiss franc, a little bit there. Then from there, we could be seeing, right. And then perhaps therefore, after that, you could be seeing. So just the last touch to the downside before we see Euro running away, before the Euro runs away with the pound. I am telling you what I've already said to the guys who are on our preview. Please, you must join our market preview for every single month. We're looking for something like this. So a small retracement of the Euro, just to trap those who want to think that the dollar is going to get strong, trap them, find the support. Then that's the second layer there. This should have been a parabolic move. Perhaps the Euro is preparing for a parabolic move against the pound. Very nice pennant there. That's a pennant, bullish pennant. So buy somewhere, or a potential buy somewhere around, they want us to see potential buy, right? Somewhere, perfect shouldering, 0.85, right? Stop loss just below the head. I'm just showing the one we like. I'm already on a short of pound and US dollar anyway. for the long term. But see what I like. I said it yesterday. The reason why I like this kind of trading is that I really like having to make more for less risk. And I think you guys, while others, it's not a problem. We can wait for the bullish penny to break on the upside, but there's not a problem at all. Absolutely. The risk just becomes slightly more. I don't mind the first risk. Apologies. I really don't mind that risk. That's why I want to buy the dip. I really want to buy that dip that goes to the shoulder. That's me. Not recommended for other people who could be looking for confirmation. So wait for confirmation if that's your system. We will give you the confirmation. Right. So wait for confirmation. Right. And once you can get the confirmation, you should be buying above 0.85. Breakout traders will buy when the 0.85 breaks. I'm talking euro. By 0.851, they will buy above 0.86. That's a breakout. So if you're trading breakout, it means that your signal will come out on the breakout somewhere there. Some would even choose to trade above this top. So in this case, if you buy above that point, your reward, I'm just showing that the reward gets reduced. But of course, the probability increases. Let me just add to that part. The reward gets reduced, but the probability is improved. I don't deny that. So there is that philosophy of improving your probability, and then take this 270 down, having to trade when the probability was lower. The probability is not as high at this point like here to go to the upside, right? But when you are here, your risk is low. You give confirmation to others because of that risk. Once it gets there, I usually say I would even take, thank you, that I would even take another trade, with you, because then from there we're gonna be trading the heads and shoulder pattern again. How is that gonna happen? So the price moves to there. When it gets there, then we are waiting for a retest. When we wait for a retest, and then you've got another inside inverse head shoulder pattern there, you buy there. I know I'm gonna buy again. I would buy again. So I'd have two buys, there's no problem. One for confirmation and one after confirmation. That's how the impulse will move. Go to another resistance and now make this impulse work. There's another one. It's gonna be 5 waves to the top. That's how we break it down. Okay. Will this meet the expansions? As I said, yes, it will. Perfect. Target number 2, you get out. You don't try target number 3. We've got a question about Bitcoin. Admin, what is the question about Bitcoin? What is the question about Bitcoin? We will do the Bitcoin question, and then from there we will go into others. Let me check on my phone, right. Let's check on those that are on. Let there be pips. Opulence effects. Are you there? Yes, they are there. I'm waiting for the question, admin. I can't see from my side. I want to see the question. What is the question? It should be on the screen. Right. They want it on the screen. Who is looking for? So we're just looking to see Bitcoin on the screen. Okay, not a problem. As per discussion yesterday, that's Bitcoin on the screen as you've requested. Right. Yesterday, during the New York session, I went into details. I really went into the absolute details, and I have been doing some serious consultation with the guys that are following Opulence FX and the people and some of the guys that we are kind of supporting on how to build up portfolios for cryptos. Long discussions yesterday. It was not a very good time. So that's how it is. It's on the screen. There it is. Where is it going? The price is expected to keep the 42. There's 40. But that 40 to up to $45,000 is now the resistance, right? The only way that the Bitcoin can get out of this mess is to break above the 40,000 level. It's as simple as that when we interpret that. It could be wanting to hold this level, but it's still the case. The 40,000, 42,000, right now as it is, 40,600. I know some people could be look at that. Look at the momentum to the downside on the daily time frame, on the MACD. The MACD has completely started hemorrhaging. So the yesterday's onslaught caused a lot of bleeding, in the pair, and we could still see some evidence of bleeding there. A nice kick from the buyers of the 30,000. So we could be expecting some ranging between 45,000 as the highest point, as the highest trading range. So the 45, 46 could be the highest, but it could still slide to the downside. We could still see a sliding resistance right there, which I think highly likely to happen. If this resistance slides to the downside, so it means that the resistance will even be reduced even further. From 42 can be 37, 35, just like that. And then that resistance could be the one that can push the price and break, and could be heavy on the 30,000. So if those resistance put pressure on the 30,000 support, that support would crack or would break. And the breaking of the 30,000 level will see Bitcoin at $18,000 or $19,000. According, this analysis has not changed. Doesn't look like something that can even change right now. We will only review it based on price as it is. For as long as the Bitcoin price is below 45.40, now as I'm speaking to you, is negative, very much negative. Okay. And then if it breaks 30, the target is going to be at 20. We will have to review that 20. It is a key untested, we call them untested. It is the untested support since the breakout that happened early in the year when Bitcoin broke out from the 20,000 psychological level, the 20,000 that it had since 2017. So it was a 3-year high there. So I hope it answers your question. I have explained, I think if you want again more details, please watch that video on our Facebook page. It's not on YouTube, where I went into the details. I spent over half an hour on Bitcoin yesterday explaining the same things. Admin, do you have got another question? Any other question? The London session today is not a great one. I would rather use my energy on the New York session. The New York session looks like it is going to be as lit as it was yesterday. Great fundamentals coming up. The job data, the unemployment claims coming through. I would rather be trading or rather be looking at the New York session than this flat market of the London session. Perhaps later. Any question, admin? In the absence of no question, I am going to, we're going to be, yes.
Right, so the second part of the question, I was muted. I was not aware that I was muted.
Thank you, admin. Thank you. Silas indicator.
Yes, so the second part of the question is what? Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So the second part of the question actually says, why is it when Elon tweets, it affects the price? Based on, since, what is it saying? Since Bitcoin is supposed to be decentralized, why is it when Elon tweets, it affects the price? That's the second part of that question.
Good question. Good question. Thanks so much for the question. When you speak about Elon Musk, I hope that we can build up this market analysis profile until such time that we can be able to invite Elon to join us. I would like to have some chat with him. He can be our guest, right? I think most of you would be happy to see Elon as our guest, right? Right there. That's a very good question. It is supposed to be a decentralized market. It is still, Bitcoin is still decentralized. So that which Elon is that he just became what we call a big sentiment. You remember the sentiments, you know, there's three different types of the market analysis or influencers of the market. Part of the market is influenced by fundamentals, largely the market. It may not be so much so for cryptocurrencies, but in my own humble opinion, I have been commenting now since late last year that the fundamentals of crypto space is beginning to be much more clearer and stable. So there are fundamentals. Before, the fundamentals of cryptocurrencies were weak. That's why institutional funding or investment would not enter the market, besides the regulation. So it's a long topic. So it is still in structure decentralized, but then the fundamentals are beginning to come in. Anything that now needs to have a fundamentals is beginning to have a structure and is beginning to hold on to some form of something that is more tangible. So Elon, in this case, becomes one of the biggest investors. And then as a bigger investor, also with a big crowd, which is like more like it can pull some crowd. So he'll be using his influence, you know, on the sentimental side to change perceptions or to push perceptions to the side or away on the side of Bitcoin. According to me, when he invested as Tesla, that $1.5 that they invested into Bitcoin when the price was still around the $30,000 level, he then influenced, you know, by sentiment, people into investing into the cryptos. Then the market moved up based on those sentiments or based on that influence. You remember that about, I think it's last week when he retweeted the Tesla Corporation tweet about that they would want Bitcoin to look into the into the impact into the environment, especially their mining business. And that was more like then started to shake the Bitcoin a little there. That's how the price moved from that 60,000, by the way. How the price moved from that 60,000 back to the 45,000. That was the first drop when Tesla, when they were saying, no, we would like you to, if you don't review or if you don't improve something on the environmental impact side, then we might have to review our position about using Bitcoin to buy our cars. Then the fall that happened yesterday, I still want to check from the point of fundamentals that would he not tweet, because it looked like for me he tweeted, and that's how the buyback at 30,000 happened, because when he said that the Tesla has still not removed their investment from Bitcoin. So even if the price fell from the 45,000, but it was not because Tesla has removed their investment from Bitcoin. So they still are holding on to their investment, and that's exactly why the price could have bounced from the 30,000. All of these things does not suggest that it is a centralized thing. It's not centralized, it's still decentralized. It's just that Elon is using the influence. Any company could, you know, so that's what he do. He's just became such a big influencer now on the Dogecoin, on Bitcoin. So I think I could leave it like that. It does not mean that it is centralized, you know, it is still decentralized. It's just that you've got somebody who is like a cheerleader, you know, for the currency. If he does not like it, the team loses. And if he starts to stop, to jump up, you know, he's got a great following. Let's just acknowledge that he's got a great following, you know, as entrepreneur. He succeeded, he's a multi-billionaire. now one of the richest guys if you just compete with Bezos on that scale. So he's got a big influence. Trust me, he's got a very massive influence. So would he be the one? But it is. It can be bigger than him in this case. That's what I said that yesterday. That let's tag Bezos and tell him that the $45,000 level of per Bitcoin is going to be the level that's going to need him most, not the 30,000. He's saving the 30,000. He's saving it from dropping to the further lows. His influence. But the key thing is that for the perceptions to become better, we need to get the Bitcoin above the $45,000 level. That's when we can say the sentiments are better or the trends are more bullish. As it is, it's still bearish. So he could be helping it to not go further down, meaning that he could be supporting the $30,000 level. Whether he buys those $30,000 level himself, he's protecting the Tesla Incorporation, I guess, that because at 30,000, they were pretty much back to break even. Like as I said, as far as I remember, Tesla invested into Bitcoin during this consolidation of the 30,000 to 45,000. Pretty much the price is back to when the time they were investing. So it would make sense that he would then come out from the wood and tweet again to say, we're still there, because that would be a break-even point. The value would be at the same point at which he invested. And if the Bitcoin can go below the 30,000 for the first time, I would be confirming they cannot be claiming that they've made or that their portfolio is on a positive when the price is back at 20,000, because I can tell you that their portfolio is already in the open. The portfolio will be about 30% down, when the price, or if the price reaches 20,000. I'm just estimating. So that's how it is. So I hope I know I've answered you. I've even got into the deeper details. Any other question? Mulimo is saying, in terms of the rising, I couldn't get that question again, but I think Mulimo was asking, in terms of the rising inflation versus short-term and strength, is gold to rise cost of inflation or drop cost of strength, the market sentiment? Good question. Good question, Mulimo. Yeah, you're asking a very good question there, because of the rise, the rising inflation. That's what all reserve or Federal Reserve banks are worried about. All good central bankers are very, very worried about the rising inflation. The global inflation, I think, is pretty much under control, according to me. I like to be watching a lot of what the Fed will do, a lot. As I have said at the beginning of the live streaming, to say Lagarde will be speaking. I don't know if she's going to be speaking something on the inflation within the Eurozone, but I think the central bankers, according to me, they have done the best, of developed economies to keep the inflation under control. They just needed to stimulate the consumer spending, stimulate the economy, increase industrial production, manufacturing must increase, consumer index must come back. So once they do that, according to me, they are mostly likely to see the inflation tick up a little bit, but not to the levels where it could be worrying. I think that gold at this point still seems to be the safe haven. They will still continue. Are we still expecting some more gold investments, or the reserves should be going up? We've seen lots of buying of gold from the $1,000 levels. Now it has touched the $2,000 level. I think it can safely stay slightly above 2,000. And according to my fundamentals, also looks like it's a good time to look at it. Remember, once you see that uncertainty on the side of the dollar has been weakened, and there's been some uncertainty over some other instruments and assets or some investment homes. So once those are getting uncertain, then you are likely to see gold being the safe haven. Yes, I think gold will continue to be the safe haven until around the $2,300 level, 2,500. Others could be seeing it as an overextended price. Inflation, yes, I think the inflation could be up there. Let go of gold, then you can begin to stimulate the economy, like that. So yes, I still expect the gold to rise based on the market sentiments. Yes. Thank you for the question, Mulimo. So inflation will be watching it very closely. I think they are watching it pretty closer. So there's going to be that balancing act between the price of gold and looking at how the dollar price goes. Like the dollar is extremely weak. And I can just comment on that again. As I say, I'm not going to change my input right now until Fed has changed their input. I think we just need to be understanding if the America prefers a weak economy. So in this case, rather not a weak economy, rather, but a weak dollar. In this instance, the weak dollar has been pretty beneficial to the US economy. The US is able to bounce, recovery, and if they can add more jobs with the weak dollar, they might just keep on preferring the weak dollar and see if the jobs, the job data will keep on improving. And if that keeps improving, they may just, like I said, have the bias to that. But if the inflation ticks up, they might just have got to also do some adjustment, perhaps prefer it to strengthen just a little bit and to regulate or to just to get the inflation to be well within the bracket again. Thank you for the questions, guys. I'm not an economist, I'm just giving my view, but I think the guys who are specialists in economists can add more than what I've just done. Right, so if there are no questions, admin, I think it's just about, we've been 55 minutes on this session. We've answered more questions. I think let us make an appointment for the New York session, starting in, I think I would rather be going for the New York session. This New York session opens in 4 hours, so I would rather go rest. New York sessions opens in 4 hours, you know, so that's kind of soon. 4 hours, 13 minutes. So I will catch it just slightly late, then take it from there. Can we call it a quit for now, and then from there we'll meet later. London session is wrapped up in that way. Thank you so much. Let us meet again during the New York session. Our admin will also be sending you the links, and I hope you're going to be enjoying it. I'm hoping, cross fingers, that the New York session, like yesterday, will be lit. Admin?
All right. So those people who are subscribed are going to get a notice from YouTube. It's going to notify them. So as long as they hit that bell. So the bell is important. They'll get a notice as soon as we are about to go live, especially because I'm going to schedule it ahead of time. So they'll definitely get a notice there. And I'll also be dropping the links on the YouTube and Telegram groups as well.
Lovely. Thank you, Silas. So join the Telegram, press the YouTube to get notification as soon as we go live. And then please, you can share the links, and you can also share our YouTube page with anybody who wants to subscribe. And let's understand, let's learn together. I like the questions. I can also, like I said, in the future, I hope to bring some guests, including Elon Musk. So we need to take Elon. Elon, you must come and join our trading group, brother. You can learn 1 or 2 things from us. I think so. We can learn 1 or 2 things from you. If anybody knows Elon, please guys plug us. Okay, see you later for the New York session. Cheers.